welcome to all of you. For those who do not yet know me, I'm Erika Giuliani, the coordinator of the Réseau Nouveau network. And today I'm really glad to welcome Marie Míčová, who is a curator of toys collection in the Museum of Decorative Arts in Prague. And she will introduce us an artist, a painter, a wooden design, Minka Podhajská. I hope that I well pronounced her. And we will see how with her personality and so dynamic and eclectic, she will allow us to discover some social dynamics of her age. And we will see, for example, how she tried to answer to the new needs of the society and of the, for example, pedagogical science and scientific, who are trying to really reform and respond to a society that is getting modern, and would like, for example, to enhance all the also the manual skills of young of kids and of all the and of the society as well. So I leave the floor to Marie, and and I will thank you. I thank you to have accepted our invitation a few months ago. So please, we are looking forward to hear and to discovering this new personality. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm really glad that I can be with you today and to present work of designer, of a female designer, which is not discovered yet. And because we work in a museum, and our basic work is the work with the works, artificial works themselves, I think it would be very more interesting for you to see and examples of different types of work of Minka Podhajská, so that you can make a picture about this very innovative and wide range worker of this beginning of the 20th century. I named the lecture "Toy Design Between Two Ages," and that's because the life and work of Minka Podhajská is divided into two states, two political regimes, and between two styles. I mean, secession and the new modern movements in art. So I hope you can see this next page. Minka Podhajská was born in Vienna in 1881 in Austro-Hungarian monarchy. And in Vienna, which was the cosmopolitan, as we know, city with a lot of cultures and the top of the artistic movements and personalities, artists. She was born into Czech family, and they were very much concerned and oriented on all kinds of culture, and so they were very social in all minority activities of Czech part of Vienna. And young Minka, she wanted to work in art, and she was interested in every wave of art she could. So she worked with children. She taught them arts. She also worked for Czech theaters. She made the puppets and so on, the posters, and so she was very. There was a great ethos in this work. And she spent the first half of her life. She has spent as a young artist in Vienna, and at the end of the World War I, the Austro-Hungarian monarchy has fallen and was divided into states, and at 1918. The Czechoslovak Republic was it was the beginning of the republic, and everything was very euphoric, and it was the power of the idea of building a new state to return to Czech roots. Is the one line, and the second line was to make Prague also a cosmopolitan city, and as a Vienna, and to bring the ideas of Europe artistic movements to Prague. So when Minka came to Prague, she stayed to live here till her death, and she had a lot of she had a different type of life, especially as a teacher, where she started to work with psychological and pedagogical movements. She had a great range of interests and of artistic like materials and the fields, and she herself considered mainly as a painter, but she wasn't so much she wasn't acclaimed as a painter, and she the biggest work she has made in her artistic life was the toy design, and the work of a teacher and a social worker concerning the field of toys. This is the example of graphic work she has done. All the main amount of graphic works she has made in her early work in Vienna. This picture, which we have, is a card. It's a card pour féliciter. Šťastný rok means pour féliciter, and as we can see, it's a playful, like a bit frivolous theme, very joyful, which belongs to the feeling of the beginning of the new year. And on the top of the picture of this graphic, we can see a little mark, and this is how Minka Podhajská signed her work. So this little graphic sign is like Minka Podhajská. These are those two first letters of her name. This is a bit not typical for her, because it's just two colors, because she was very good at feeling for the colors, and especially in the graphics and in the not in the art at herself, but in the artistic works for another art, like illustrations or posters, or she was very good at craft when somebody gave her a theme. This is another, I hope you can see it. You can see this is the poster, also a graphic work for Hořické hračkářské družstvo, which is a workshop in Czech mountains, the city of Hořice, where was a great workshop of people which could carve and paint or their designs of toys or another designs. So Minka Podhajská has worked with this workshop very closely, and on both sides. She made some designs for them, and she also worked on some works which were in a wide range amount. And she made practically the, as we call it now, the corporation identity. So she made a graphic poster. She made a United mark, graphic mark for the letters and the marks on the things themselves. She made the book with the toys which are for sale, for to be bought. And so this all has a united cover, and this workshop is very important in our Czech culture, because the work and the idea of belonging to the folk culture, to involve it into a really up-to-date workshop with modern tendencies, to have something to sell and to be bought which has a perfect quality. Although the roots are in folk art, so like in-sit and primitive type of working with the wood and with the colors. And they started as a part of a museum, mountain museum, in 1905. And their golden years are till 1912, because they didn't have a financial base to follow this great idea and this workshop. Minka Podhajská worked as a designer and as a producer of toys for different workshops, not only for Hořice, but also Blank. Blank is the name of an owner of the workshop for wood things like furniture and like this. And in those fabrics, you can have a lot of material which can be used for the main field, like mebel and so on. So they use which is left to make toys. It's like a traditional way of making toys in folk art in Czech Republic. Minka Podhajská also was a member of Artěl, which was a workshop which was based in Prague, and the active years were from 1908 till 35, before the Second World War, and also the main idea of this was to produce. It was an art craft movement, and their aim was to bring art to everyday life people. So they put a design approach to every single way, every single part of households of people. So the toys were suddenly on the list also, and the meaning was to transform the folk art to artistic pieces. This is just one example of the second half of Minka Podhajská's life and work. And this is, we see the educational toy. This is this box, like handmade and shaped and colored by Minka Podhajská. And to this maze belongs little ball, also a wooden ball, and children have to move the box the way they want the ball goes, and you have to this way you train your fingers and your ability to use the fingers in a young age properly and knowingly. So this is just the example of the second part of life of Minka Podhajská in Prague. Now this is, I have chosen some examples of her work from the Vienna capital of her life, and I wanted to show you this beautiful graphic works. These are small graphic cards where she tried to combine different types of colors, and we can see that this is typical work of hers from this age, around 1910, 1905, 1910, where we can see the stylization of the person, of the figure. We can see the decoration, the ornamental surfaces, and I have chosen those who are connected with the theme of children for a child. And I think, and I will talk about it later, that we have in Czech culture is a very great tradition that says that this picture is from the like a group of Saint Nicola and the devil and the angel, and there is a feast where those three before the Christmas go to children and talk to them about the year which has left And in Czech culture, the devil is a very strong word, because it's all the time the devil is just creature like a pet. It's like a pet animal. We can see this in this picture. There's always this playful and neat little devils, and I would say it's in some examples it is like a personality of a child, because sometimes we call them little devils and it doesn't mean anything bad. It's just an expression for a child which is really like active and wild and very in a movement all the time. Here we can see the sophisticated more form of a figure which is oriented, very stable figure, which represents the main figure of the group of three, like the father, or which shines the respect and make children like more polite and stuff. This is also example of how Minka Podhajská worked with colors on the surface. She really was a very skilled in using the colors like in a Japanese in a Japan influence in the time, which divided the surface of the image in different fields, and it's a big impression of an artist of abstract forms, which when you see closer, you can see the other plans of this like ornamental surface, and you see the figures. This is another theme where children are involved. Those are the examples of how Minka Podhajská worked with the colors. Those are examples how to use the colors and how to. We all know those examples as well. Those are another ones, and the picture with the naked woman is a, I guess, illustration for the book of fairy tales, and those are two persons, concrete persons. The man in the brown coat is a devil, and on him sits the person Kacha. It's like Catherine, but very wild Catherine, and she won over the devil, and this is the end of the fairy tale. This is a very strong female figure which takes the place of a man to command the other person in a relationship. This is the example of the motif which Minka Podhajská used almost everywhere in her paintings. This is a study, a design for an oil picture, and surely all the pictures we know are the kind of it was in the critic voices of her time, it was if it was not negative, they said that it's like a portrait of a flower. And some of our, one of my colleagues, which current saw her work in a small exhibition, said that they remind her of work of Georgia O'Keeffe, but it's not that example for sure. But they labeled it as a portrait of a soul of a flower. This picture is a bit has a story in it because when she retired and she left Prague to live her private life on her cottage in the mountains, she had a heart stroke in this way in this forest, and so this is the story of this picture. She used to go there to paint in plein air, and so this is a special place with a concrete meaning. This is work from another field of Minka Podhajská's work, and it's a wood carving. I have forgotten to say that when she was young, she wanted to learn at Academy of Fine Arts, but it was forbidden for women, as we know, in the time. But it was a school for girls and women, the Frauen Academy, which Minka Podhajská attended, and where she used to work with different techniques, and one of them was carving, which I think if she would wanted to specialize in this kind of wood carving sculptures, she would be very successful, because I think she was very skillful. And I have chosen this comparison. On the one picture is her carved animal. It is from the Bethlehem scene for the Christmas tree, and the other half is the example of work of Franz Barwig the Altere. And we have no proof that they knew each other. We don't have any document or any document about the connection, but we are strongly believe that she knew his work, and she was influenced by this, not only in a carving of like animals and stuff like this, but also in a figure carving. And it's I speak about it, I talk about it because there is a one feature which is equivalent for both artists' work, and it's like when you look at people, you can make a laugh of them also, but in a good way. You see a little imperfections in people which make them like vulnerable and more human, as they say. So this kind of looking at people is common to them both. And I think it's not the influence of Franz Barwig, but it's the thing that connects them. It's for them both, it's very significant. This is another comparison, and I'm sorry, this is from a catalog of Franz Barwig, and this wooden figure is covered with lac, which is not seen on the figure of Minka Podhajská. These are figures which have been made in Vienna around 1905. I think it was reflected in a London magazine, The Studio. Also, it's from the years where Minka Podhajská studied with Fanny Harlfinger Zakucka, and they worked together. Then they make together a chess, like in a small box, a lot of figures, and some of the figures could be misunderstood if you see them alone, not in this collection of pre-mediated figures, which are for the chess play only. And here we can see figures which, on one side, they are very influenced by the folk wooden figures, which are made very simply, and the surface is meant to be decorated. But this decoration is artistic, and it's very complex, and closes the figure together. It's not like occasionally using of color or something like this. And these are works which Minka Podhajská made for the workshop Artěl from the 1908. And this is very one of her very significant type of work, which is the moving toys. They are movable. The different parts are movable, and we see the stripes and the gentle, very fragile figures, which are I'm sorry, the ornamental design is the stylization of this. Some of my colleagues say that it belongs into the secession movement, but it can also be, I think, involved in the modern movements of abstract design. Those are also works of Minka Podhajská for Artěl, and there is a great theme which is used for as a motive to make toys, and those are two of them. One of them is the figure, like a folk figure with folk attributions, and the other one are the different type of those fogels in the household, the birds. Yes, the birds, because the birds in reality, they are very careful and very great range of colors and shapes, and you can use them not only as a theme, as a motive, but also inspiration, because you can look at them also like as you can see, if you want, the stylization and decoration of the surface of their bodies, the wings, and like this. There is a small thing, the green egg with the bird on it, and the shape of the egg is very common also because the toys have been given to children on different occasions, and one of the occasions was the feast of the great knights in the spring, and those are those motifs like eggs and the children of animals and like this. So there is a very wide range of different type of egg and a bird together. And this concrete is a small box for children. It's empty. You can open it. Maybe on the figure, on the picture, you can see it's divided in the middle, and you can use it as a little secret box for some what children collect, like you know, like little stones or rings or something. Those are another examples of a very fragile things. And here we can also mention that the toy as a topic has a very interesting aspect, and it is that toy is in a lot of times on the border with another field of art. So is this a toy, or this is an educational tool, or is it a toy, or is it a decoration object, or a small sculpture, or something like this? And this ambiguity is very, I think, very typical for every toy maker and every toy which is unique and not that. This is these are things that it's a question if you can give it to children, if it is usable, because toys they have to be useful for a child and can be put to the children's hands. Here we can see also the little box, and also those cups with the other birds, but they also in the comments it's like for a cigar. So again, as we have talked before, this is the example of borderline, the thing that can be used as a toy, or it can be used as something which definitely is not as for children, meant to children. Those are another examples of how Minka Podhajská worked with colors, and she made with one single. She had at the beginning the wood, and she used carving, the turning, and she has made a lot of different objects with this method. At first, we can see the forest with those shapes, green, and on the south side of the picture, we can see how she used this as a motive, and she put a decoration on it, which is meant to be more specific and not that abstract as the upper ones are. This is a picture of traditional Czech toys, the figures. These are the wooden dolls, which represent the Czech wooden art and folk art. And I think that this is a common like movement in Germany also. We have and on the borders with Erzgebirge forest and the place. There are workshops which make the same amount of these types. So in this amount, you can say every time where is the origin of these figures, if German or Czech. And these are the examples which I have chosen to show some original ideas of Minka Podhajská. On the right side, we see the wooden doll, as we have seen here, just the standing figure, which has just two hands to move. And this is her version, one of her versions, how you can transform the original wooden folk art into something with her original view on things. So she gave a specification to the wooden doll, and this is a stepmother with a child. She named it stepmother, and when I have been talking to another our colleagues, they said it's cruel, but it is really a cruel behavior. But also it's a representation of a figure of stepmother in fairy tales worldwide. If you want to scare your children, you can make them listen to Grimm's fairy tales or Andersen fairy tales. There is so much cruelty in these fairy tales, which is beaten, and the good wins. But I think it's very unique that Minka Podhajská used this cruel thing, that she didn't use like a princess or some positive figure which can be used as a toy for a child. You don't, if you don't want to punish your child, you will not give them the figure of stepmother, right? But it's a culture phenomenon. It has the meaning. So I think it's very important to mention it. Another type of woman or mother picture is the textile one, which personally I really love, because it is a literary mother, because this is sewed, and those two children are sewed to the mother. And I think when you make a formal analysis and say this, it's so lifelike, because the characteristic of those young children is to be kept to their mother. It's very common, it's a very basic characteristic of a relationship between mother child of this age. And I think it's not on the first sight. You can't see it on the first sight, but you can interpret it like this. And when I see all those figures of women or mothers, there is a lot of more than just to make a nice wooden doll to your daughter. Those are another types of women which I also like, and those are different kind of women. When she was in Vienna, she lived in a, as we have said, in a cosmopolitan environment with a lot of different cultures. So it wasn't unusual that she has portrayed women from other cultures, you know. And it's not common for European woman to put her interest on this not so common culture habits as were those of Czech women or Austrian women. So I think it's very interesting that this figure exists, even though we don't have a name, any other documents which would add some commentary about this. And on the other side, we have another woman, which is like typical Czech mother, a woman who stays in the kitchen because the clothes are work clothes for women as a work material. So I think it's just interesting to compare the two meanings of clothing on women from another culture backgrounds. You know, it's like very you are forced to wear those things because you are presumed to be a worker or to follow the rules of patriarchal culture. As we see now in the world news, that the women from Islam regimes are forced to cover their bodies and their faces, and it's not think of their own perception of their own will, as we say. It's a those are another examples of how to make another figure as a doll for a child. And you know, in this time till this day, it was very common that you have the folk wooden art like this, or if you want a doll, you have to be rich and to buy porcelain manufactured doll hat with the shoulders, and then to add it, to sew it or to glue it on the body, which is made from the textile or from the leather. And there is the second option, how you can have a doll, or you can have a rag doll when you don't belong to the high society. And Minka Podhajská used this typical Czech doll, the wooden doll, like the standing figure with a little stylization. The cloth is just designed a bit, and with the two hands, and she took it and transformed it literally into the textile. And I think it's kind of smiley thing that maybe because she has made every single thing like an original piece of work. So I think this is example of how she made this special thing. And also it's very interesting that as you can see, the wooden dolls has those standing. You can easily put them on the table or on the surface, but you don't usually do it with the textile toy, and this is what you can do with this. So I think her approach was to see how it would work if I take this wooden form and transform and put it as copy paste to textile. And she had to resolve the standing of the figure, and I think that's very interesting, because she tried a lot to make different types of women, and it looks like she was seeking the many meanings of women soul or persona. Those are just photographs before the restoration, when you work in the museum with the people who restore things. It's always very interesting to see the thing before and after. This is a very also the very fragile example of a work around 1908, which Minka Podhajská made for Artěl, the Prague art and craft movement, and we see all the signs like the complex ornament stylization, and this is a picture of also a very fragile artistic figure of a woman, not as a worker, not as in a clothes for some to go to church or something. It's like what she wants to do, the ballet. She wants to be an artist, and she makes the art. And on the other side, there is also the ballerina, and it's another type of toy, which is made to move itself. You can see when you look at the ballerina, you see one leg is to the like an arrow, and you put the arrow on the table and put the wire freely down, and it moves. All the figure moves, and it makes a very great impression. So this is a type of toys which is not so common, but this is the version which what Minka Podhajská did, and it was left in this state. It should be painted, decorated, but it isn't. and we don't have any other examples of toys of this kind. So I think it was just exercise how it would work, and it really works like beautiful, but whatever. Those are another examples of figure in toys. Those specifically are it's a national ethos in this, because after 1918, when Czechoslovak Republic was based, there were also the Scout organization, and this is like the represents of this organization. Here we have also the Czech folk-inspired figures in the costumes from the Bohemian and Moravian villages. And on the other side, we have composition of Saint Nicola and the Devil. And the Devil has a very specific ornamental decoration, which was used also on two other artistic pieces. One is the picture of Czech well-known artist, painter, Marie Čermínová Doyen, which she emigrated to Paris and spent her life there. And also this ornamental stylization is used on by Minka Podhajská as a decoration of card, the piece of furniture of Koloman Moser, who made, as they say, 4 of them, those cupboards, and gave it to 4 artists to individual decorating. And we have a photograph of Minka Podhajská where she was at her exhibition, and she exhibited her toys in this cupboard, and the doors were open. And we knew only this photograph, where we have seen the black and white photograph from 1910. And she was sitting there, and everything what was interesting was those toys in the cupboard. And last autumn, one of Tomáš Hejtmánek, which is one of our art house owners, he was given this cupboard, and we have seen finally the surface of the cupboard, which had this stylization, this type, only in it wasn't blue but red, and we have seen it for the first time live, how it worked, and the story of this picture was kind of completed. So it's a good example how you can find something new even in things which you researched before. This is another example of a woman in, as Minka Podhajská has seen them. So on the one side there is a wedding, but I guess those aren't the children of the bride. It would be not possible. And on the other side, we have a young lady with a child, and Minka Podhajská named this as a girl with a child. So we can also question if this is the sister of this young child, or is it a young mother, or we don't know. We don't have the documents, but we can guess if something. It has maybe story which was taboo at the time, like the child the marriage, or the many stories of the older siblings which are forced to be as a mother to all her younger siblings because their parents are at work. It's a really common story which are not often told, but I think because Minka Podhajská has spent a lot of time with her own effort in social work for people from the low part of society. She had a really great social feeling, and maybe she tried to portray those people in her work because she had higher ambitions than just to make something funny for children, you know. And I think it's very interesting that you can, if you look at those things through the personality of Minka Podhajská, you can see a lot of things. So at the first sight, you see a girl which is playing with toy, but maybe there is another story on the other side, because Minka Podhajská has left a lot of letters with which she exchanged with her colleagues outside in Europe, even in America, and they have been talking about social things and the behavior of women in other states or cultures. So she was very sensitive to those values and those gestures, and which can be interpreted either this or that way. These are artificial toys which she has made in when she was in the school, and she was a teacher in 20s in Prague, and alongside Ladislav Sutnar, which was a very famous Czech graphic designer. And he has, it's very interesting, those two people together in 20s at the same school. They both taught making of toys, but they really had different approaches. And they have a similar fate, because if Minka Podhajská lived in Vienna and then came to Prague, Ladislav Sutnar was born in Czechia, and then at the beginning of before the beginning of the World War II, he moved to United States, to New York, when he wanted to start a new life, equal to as Minka Podhajská wanted to start a new life after the First World War. So she started to make the toys from the leftovers, from the different types of textile, and the things from the couturiers workshop, because the school was also for the crafts, the women crafts. So it means to work with textile to make clothes. So they have leftovers which she used to make original things. Those are based on geometrical forms. Those are kind of toys which have those patterns sewed on them, or the figure of the horse is bounded by the leather wire. Those are another examples of toys from the leftover materials. And as we can see by the owl, we can interpret the this pattern as surface of the body of the bird. This is a kind of interesting because it's not just a toy. It was documented as a pincushion, and I don't think anybody ever have seen the needles inside the body of this little creatures. So maybe it's not exactly like the pincushion. It could be used as a toy, really, because it's a size for the children's hand, or it can be like a decoration for children's room. Those are two other examples. And those are another examples of how you can make a box for some secret things, which was really common theme in this time, in this society of artists. And the little one is a needle case. It's a box you can turn around the head with the head, and there is an empty place exactly for a couple of needles. And the other type of box, it's the work of Ladislav Sutnar. It's a vase, and it's very uncommon. You don't see vases from wood, but this is just the capsule for the for a vase, as you can see on the picture. Those are another forms. Those textile toys they will be published yet in our monography, which we prepare with our colleagues. And those are the things, textile toys, which also uses, which is typical for her. She finds a reason to be used for a lot of different things which she finds in her workshop. So as we can see by both of these examples, I mean the monkey. Here we have this is excerpt from a book about Czech folk toys, which was written and also illustrated by Emanuel Herzig, which is a great important figure in our Czech art. He was a historian, he was a researcher and a maker of toys, and he made this book. It's like an encyclopedia of types of art, and not only folk art, but he also illustrated the first Artěl toys. The first one ever is the animal on the right side, and it was just like a symbol of the Artěl group. The big one red figure which we have is like semi-plastic figure of an animal, and we can see how Minka Podhajská has made it, transform it in the motif of little devil, as we see. This is another example of how the good devil is in Czech culture. Another one, it's the same page. We have the picture of it, and then we have it in a 3D version. It's another devil, but he's a really cute baby. Also, this was made as a dose also, and it's also used as without the as a type of a child in the crib. Those are another examples of how Czech see the little devil, and I think it's funny. And the one which is in the middle, it's a case. You can see his belly is a case. You can let him lay down, and you can go to his belly to put some secret on it. And it's a work of Václav Špála, which is one of great modern Czech painters. And the other one is a work of Vratislav Hugo Beneš, which is a very known Czech typographer of modern age. And this is also a dose, and it was meant to be a dose for candies for the good children on the feast before Christmas. So nothing scary. This is a typical turned wood figure, which Minka Podhajská made, and it was it's the only figure we have from the collection of figures which played in a dramatic play, theater play from the life of insect by Karel Čapek, well-known writer, Czech of 20s. And we have only this figure, which is called Parasite, and because of the shape, it has a lot of predecessors and ancestors as examples in toy culture, I think, all over the world. And also Michelin has, I think, is in the line of this shape. This is another example of Podhajská work with children themes, children motifs, and it shows her playful side, and the way she sees children is really ambiguous, and we can see it in another examples which will follow. This is the example of how you use the theme sport in toys, and this was common example from the fabrics, as I have said, which make furniture, and from the leftovers, from the small parts, they make toys. So it is from this type of manufacture of toys. This is a unique collection of small children personifications of the bad habits of children, but I think it's a very polite view on children. Don't punish them, because those are bad habits of everybody, not only the children. And the names of them are not like Johnny or Peter, but the name is he eats too much, and he has to be everywhere, he's curious, or he has a big head, he has to know everything, and he reads in the dark. It's something we say to children not to do. And those are the examples of educational toys, which, as we can see, are from 20s, and Podhajská tried to make a theoretical and practical impact on what is with children deal with maternity schools. And she has made a theoretical essay about it, and she explained how she wanted to make a set of toys, the basic set, which will be present in every maternity school in Czech Republic as a basic need. And those things were based on a lot of like roots. One of them is the school of Maria Montessori. It's very interesting that in one of her book, which the chapter is called about toys. So she has written there that children don't want to play with toys. They want to play with the exact things which are right. So if you don't want to give them the sharp knives because they can't have to play with them, you have to find a way how to simulate the things they want to do with the knife. And this way she works on the manufacture the tools for children. And so we say it's an educational tool instead of toy, maybe. And the set is very much based also on so-called Frebel's gifts to children, which is a set of tools for children in the maternity schools, which are from the mid of 19th century. And this is for children to know the colors, the shapes, what is bigger, what is smaller, and those are for senses, the tools for senses. So that everything what a child has to know in his on his early age. So maybe she didn't mention it, but I think it's her work is based on this. And also we are a nation of Jan Amos Komenský, which he famously said that a school should be as a game, like a school as a play. And that was something which was actual up to date also in 20s, because it started the pedagogical reformation on the beginning of the 20th century, also in Czech Republic, and we have a lot of interesting pedagogical movements of ours, and they can be divided into some movements. One is as Baťa, the famous man, the owner of manufacture of shoes, named after him, Bata. He preferred to teach his pupils like they sleep in the dormitory, together they go to work, together they learn, and they this way they have good habits, so they can be a good workers. So this is the work type of school, the school which is concerned about the work ethics. Then there is a school, one of the schools which is really exceptional in Czech school system. It was a school named after the beginner. His name was František Bakula, and he made a school for arts and crafts for disabled children, and his aim was to learn them to be that the child, when he grows up, he can take care of himself despite the disability he has. So some say that it was very hard on the children, but he was very successful with it, and he was a very good manager, and because his aim was that children can earn the money for some work, he made a theater with the children, he made a singing group with the children, and they also had a small workshop where they made toys. So it's a pedagogic system which is concerned about the life skills and to for disabled people. And also the work, the school where Minka Podhajská worked was, it was a school of art and crafts. And this school also has something outside the school building, as the ones I have told you about before. And they made lectures like for 2 or 3 weeks, where when they went to the peripheries of Czech Republic, to the woods and to the places where lived the poor people with a seasonal work. So they work on the fields during the summer. They didn't have a work during the winter. So that's when Minka Podhajská's work late. She went there to teach them how to make those make a range of assortment which they can work on during the winter, then sell, and to have another work outside the season, working season. This is another example of the educational tool of Minka Podhajská's, and we can see that It's a game where the child has to find the right shape which can be put into the hole in the desk. And we can see that it's not just the basic thing for Minka Podhajská. It's not just red or blue or bigger or smaller, but she has to put ornament and a lot of colors on everything. So this is something what persists from the secession years and learning till 20s and 30s when she has made these tools.